Welcome to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and joining me today is Dr. Mary Ann East, who is the director of the Sentimental Journey Singers, which is a program that is part of Encore Creativity. Thank you so much for being here, Mary Ann.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I am fascinated by the entire concept of the Sentimental Journey Singers. But perhaps we should back up and introduce Encore Creativity and your relationship with that program.
Absolutely. So I started working with Encore Creativity about a year ago, just as a regular chorale director. So Encore Creativity is a program that is based in Annapolis, Maryland, and started in the DC metro area. We specialize in community choirs for 55 and older. And within this area alone, we have 15 Encore Chorales, and we have 7 Encore ROCKS groups, which are our rock and roll choirs. And then we also have affiliate choirs throughout the country. And so I began working with the chorale down at Goodwin House, Bailey's Crossroads. Had a wonderful time last season with them. And towards the end of the season, Jean Kelly, who's our founder and artistic director, approached me and said, you know, it's time to do the next step. And what she found was with 1,300 singers in the area, we were finding singers that were having to drop out. And we were trying to figure out why. And so after some conversation with some of the singers, they were talking about, you know, the music's just a little beyond me. There's so much of it, and it's just hard to keep up anymore. So we decided, okay, if our mantra is going to be sing for life, we've got to do the next step, because we don't want to have people dropping out that are still physically capable of singing. And so through a little bit of research and conversation, we decided that this was the next step, was to start Sentimental Journey Singers, which is our program for singers with diagnosed early stage dementia and their care partners. And we love the marriage of that with Encore, so that we have that next step available.
Well, it is a great concept, and one that's kind of bold, but comes from getting feedback by asking, why have you left?
Yes.
And so it's very unique in that, first of all, it's brand new. You've only been there since September.
Yes, we just started our rehearsals in September.
And you gave your first performance on December 1st.
We did.
St. George's?
Yes, United Methodist Church over in Fairfax.
Right, and so I was alerted to this by Amber Sultane of AARP, who's just a good friend, and she heard the concert, and she said, if you have not done a show with Sentimental Journey Singers, you definitely need to do some outreach, which is why you're on the show today.
Thank you.
Because, and we're here in Fairfax too, the fact that they can perform seated, you know, that you are learning, because so there is one other course that's like this, right? This is the second one?
No, this is our first Sentimental Journey Singers chorus. All of our Encore singers have the opportunity to be seated during rehearsals and during performances. That's something that we learned early on was necessary, so that people could be comfortable while they sing. And be stable and not be worried about things like balance and all of that, and really be comfortable singing.
Well, that makes complete sense.
Yes.
So you also have an accompanist named Rachel Thompson too.
Yes.
So explain your relationship with Rachel and how the two of you have become partners in this.
Yes, so Rachel accompanies another one of my community groups, Capital Harmonia, and so we've been working together for about 3 years with that group, and I was aware that she was a certified, or is a certified music therapist in the area. And so as soon as Jean and I started talking about this particular group, we said, you know, our other chorales, I'm the accompanist at rehearsal, and that works just fine. But for this particular group, to allow me to be more hands-on with singers and to move around the room and really be engaged with them, we both felt that an additional pianist in the room would be really helpful. And as soon as she said that, I said, Rachel's the right woman for this job with her background. And she also brings in her music therapy skills in that in the middle of our rehearsal, we take a break. And she comes forward and she does movement exercises with them and brain teasing exercises with them. We had a fabulous Christmas Carol sing-along this past Monday in the middle of rehearsal. And it was great to see some of my singers who sometimes struggle in conversation to be able to sing along as soon as she started a tune. We played a little name that tune kind of game, and as soon as she started singing, you know, and they all went Dasher, and they could name all the reindeer without any trouble. So we like to have that kind of therapeutic piece of it as well as a choral piece of it.
And you've hit on something really important too. You are a PhD. Hence, Dr. Mary Ann East. And music is your profession. So there's been some research about how we remember music, why you can hear the first couple of notes or something and know exactly what that tune is.
Yes.
And the fact that that doesn't seem to diminish the way other kinds of memory does.
Absolutely. Within the area of dementia, there are hundreds of different types of dementia that one can have. And they all affect a different part of the brain in different ways. And what they found in research is that music is housed in a particular part of the brain that is separated from speech and language, although speech and language is a component of music. And they found that, you know, singing can even help people with speech impediments, with stuttering and things like that. So the fact that music is housed in a different portion that is not affected by dementia is one piece. But the other beautiful piece of it is that it's usually music that is deeply connected to a memory. And so as soon as they hear Dean Martin singing, they can go back to the USO dance and they remember it so vividly. They know who they were with and what they were wearing and exactly where they were. And so to be able to hang on to the memory as well as the music is really important.
You know, and I think we forget that too. It's like most of us, well, I did, learned the ABCs with the ABC song.
Yes.
And they teach a lot of concepts to children using music
Yes.
the same way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a daughter who has some intellectual disability, and if you sing her a song, she's right on it. She might not know that tomorrow is Thursday, but she can go through Monday, Tuesday, and she can sing the song and say, oh, tomorrow's Thursday. And she goes immediately back to that music. So it's a great source of continuous learning as well.
And of course, the social interaction too, because one of the biggest impacts on the health of seniors is social isolation.
Yes. Yes.
So talk a little bit about what this group has meant to people staying connected.
Absolutely. Encore in general strives to be that connection for 55 and older folks as well. And especially those with dementia and their care partners so many times have additional isolation because it can be difficult to even get up in the morning and get out and do things. So we want to provide that, and especially for people who are still living at home with a care partner or with assistance, because there's not that built-in social piece if they were in an assisted living community per se. And it's also, it affords them something to do together. Because so many times, many hours of the day, the care partner is doing things for their loved one. And this is something that they can really do together.
You know, that is such a great point. And I noticed, well, you mentioned that you had a program at Goodwin House, Bailey's Crossroads. You know, how do you pick locations as to where you put a group together? You said there's 15 of them?
There are senior centers. We have several in senior centers. We have some that meet at churches. It's kind of see where the people are and see where a great gathering spot is. We're lucky with Sentimental Journey Singers to have partnered with Insight Memory Care Center in Fairfax, which if you don't know about that organization, it's one of the only organizations that is a day center that specifically caters to those with memory issues. And so that is a great partnership for us. They provide us space, and we provide them additional programming for their clients. And so we're hoping to do a lot of cross publicity for each other, so that our folks learn about them as a resource in our community, and then we can be an additional resource for them as well.
So you have a deadline coming up of January 6th. Is that when the next session starts?
It does. We will take a 2-week break for the holidays, and then we'll come back on Mondays. We are shifting. We've been meeting in the mornings, and we find sometimes mornings are pretty tough for folks, aside from the DC traffic. So we are shifting to the afternoon to meet from 2 to 3:30 on Mondays starting on January 6th.
And so is there an application process, or how would people join?
There is. If they go to our website, www.encorecreativity.org, and then they can scroll down the different programs. They can see our chorale programs as well as our rock and roll and our Sentimental Journey Singers. They'll take them to a registration page. We do have a registration fee. We are a nonprofit, so that's part of how we are able to do what we do. And then there's a smaller fee for their care partner. Essentially, we ask them to purchase their music so that they can come to rehearsals and enjoy it. We also have volunteer singers that we pull from our regular Encore Chorales and rock and roll groups that come and just provide additional support. If there's somebody whose care partner is not able to come, or is not able to come that particular day, then they can be partnered with one of our volunteer singers. But the beautiful thing is, in rehearsal, we are all singers. There's no differentiation of who's who. We all just sing together.
And so there's no audition, there's just the registration.
No, absolutely, yep.
And I think it's wonderful that you've got volunteers from the other programs coming too. So this is actually, we're talking about Sentimental Journey Singers, but actually people who want to sing in a community chorale really should just consider Encore Creativity as a way of engaging.
Absolutely. There's many different ways that they can engage, and our volunteer singers are wonderful. They've commented how it's really helped them get past the stigma of working with people with dementia, which is a big piece, I think, of what we want to do, is bring that message of these are not people to be afraid of, they're not people to be brushed aside, that you can engage them in conversation just like you do anybody else. And we want to get over that fear. And so you can come and sing with them just like you would in any other community choir.
Well, you and I were talking a little bit before the show about the fact that, we're all going to be older someday.
Yes.
10,000 of us a day are turning 65. And it's kind of important to build it before you need it.
Yes.
And so the fact that you have invested, or Encore Creativity is invested in meeting the needs of all singers and offered this wonderful opportunity based in your local community is incredible. And it's something that, I hope people will take an interest in and figure out how they can engage with you. So when we come back from the break, you at home, I want you to pay close attention for how you can get involved, especially if music and the arts is something you care deeply about. Join us when we talk further.
Here, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty.
You'd think it would be easy to tell which kids have trouble with their eyesight. But that's not always the case. Even though 1 in 4 children may have a vision problem, eye doctors tell us the symptoms aren't always so obvious. We do know that 80% of all childhood learning is visual. And without good vision, kids can have trouble learning to read and may fall behind in school. For clues on how to spot the real-life signs of childhood vision problems and what parents can do, visit checkyearly.com. A public service message from the Vision Council of America and Reading is Fundamental.
Mom,
What?
you can't find Ichabod.
What?
don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you.
Welcome back to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and joining me today is Dr. Marianne East, who is the director of the Sentimental Journey Singers, part of Encore Creativity. I so appreciate you being here. This is very exciting to share this fledgling organization. So tell me, in order to get to the next level in 2020, what kind of resources or support or partnerships or volunteers are you looking for?
We're looking for a little bit of everything. We are looking to expand. Obviously, we don't want to expand too soon, so we wanted to start with one location and one group to kind of figure out what our model was going to be. And we've had such a great partnership with Insight Memory Care Center in Fairfax, Virginia. So we're looking for other organizations, senior centers, or other memory care institutions to partner with to look for rehearsal space. We're especially looking into Montgomery County, Maryland, to see if we can get a group over there. And kind of do what we've done with our regular Encore groups is put them in several different communities so that they're accessible for people to get to for rehearsals and for concerts.
And that's true, because there's a lot of moving parts, especially when you have a caregiver too. So there's two people to be considered here.
Yes, absolutely. And we're looking for volunteer singers as well. If you are over 55 and looking for a way to connect through music, we would love to have volunteer singers. You can call our office or go to the website, and you'll find my contact information there. And I can certainly figure out a way to get people connected to us.
So there's clearly people who are interested not only in participating in the arts, but they want to hear your choruses perform. So what about performance venues?
Absolutely. So this debut concert, as you mentioned, was at St. George United Methodist Church in Fairfax. They've been one of our venues for a long time, and they're fantastic hosts. We performed along with our Fairfax chorale. We were busting at the seams. We had standing room only. So we are looking for larger venues, especially for these combined kind of concerts. And also, again, rehearsal space as well.
And I'm sure people to support you. As you mentioned, this is a nonprofit.
Yes.
And nonprofits don't run on thin air.
No.
So people who are looking, groups, service clubs. I'm a Rotarian. There's lots of Rotary clubs and women's clubs and Lions clubs and all kinds of clubs, and the Optimist Club, looking to support community efforts like this one.
Yes.
And so I'm hoping too that that you'll capture the attention of organizations who could be partners in supporting just the operational aspect.
Absolutely, absolutely, and also the publicity aspect. The best networking is by mouth. So we would love to have people come. All of our concerts are free to the public because we want them to be accessible to the community, and it's great to see family and friends and neighbors that come out and support, and then the church communities, for instance, because St. George also advertises that we're going to be there, so we can involve the church community and introduce them to Encore Creativity. And so looking for corporate sponsors are fantastic. Resources, anybody who has connections, because it's all about the networking and the connections. So if they have a connection to a memory care center, if they have a connection to a particular organization that could help us out, that would be wonderful.
And so other performances, you mentioned something about the Kennedy Center.
Yes, every year we have been blessed to be part of the Kennedy Center's Millennial Stage, and we outgrew it. And so last year the Kennedy Center contacted Jean and said, you've kind of outgrown the Millennium Stage, would you like to be in the concert hall? And they offered us the concert hall for free, which is a very big honor. And so we will be there, as far as we know, as many years as we want to, the day after Christmas. So every December 26th in the evening, we will be at the Kennedy Center. Again, it's a free concert.
Wow.
You will see a combination of all of our chorale members and rock and roll groups. Every chorale and every rock and roll group sings the same repertoire so that then we can combine them for large concerts like this. And we're hoping that next year Sentimental Journey Singers will also be a part of that. Kennedy
Wouldn't
Center
that be
program.
amazing? I mean, and there are other tours too. I was kind of impressed. Like, I think the chorales, and I don't know which ones, are going to Ireland.
Yes, we do a summer tour each year. This year will be Ireland, part of the Beltane Festival of Music and Arts over there. Last year was London. We also do summer camps. You can send your grandparents out to summer camp.
I love this idea.
It's a week of intense singing and community, and it's wonderful. I was able to be part of the Virginia one last year. We have a rock and roll camp that sells out every year. And so, who knows, we might be able to do a Sentimental Journey Singers day camp or something along those lines come summertime.
That would be great. So I'm sure one of the questions that people have is, how do you select the music? So you've got a rock and roll choir. I'm trying to think, well, what is that? And then you've got the Sentimental Journey. How is the music selected?
Jean, our founder and artistic director, does the music selection for the chorales, but always with input from all of the different directors, which I find really, really exciting, that she asks us for, hey, have you seen something? What's really good? Jeff Dawkin is in charge of our rock and roll program, so he and Jean work on that together. And that usually consists of lots of Beatles, lots of Beach Boys, rocking around the Christmas tree for the holidays, a lot of really great, fun music from, from those teenage, early 20s years. And then for Sentimental Journey, I do want to find things that are somewhat familiar, especially for this first go-round with them. And our signature song is, of course, Sentimental Journey, that we will sing at every concert. And so I look for music that is a little bit simpler than our other chorale and rock and roll groups. Just because you're over 55 doesn't mean you can't have a challenge. So we love to challenge those groups. But the music for Sentimental Journey, I choose is a little bit more simple so that it's easier to follow. We also do rehearsal CDs for all of our singers that has their voice part isolated, as well as a full performance of it.
That is amazing.
And we encourage them, because we only see them once a week.
Right.
So we encourage them to use
practice
that and practice at home.
That's brilliant.
And, there's a music and memory program that Oliver Sacks started that encourages care partners to create a playlist for their loved one with dementia and use that, and it can be very motivating to help them get dressed, to help them eat, to help them be in conversation and be engaged. And so, I tell them all the time, you don't have to sit with your music and be staring at your music. You can put it on in the car. You can put it on while you're cooking dinner. Just the more it's there, the more you absorb it, and you start to just kind of sing along, just as you learned any pop song off the radio from hearing it over and over.
That's the CD with your own voice part. I probably could have learned to sing in my life if I had that as some sort of tool.
Yeah,
but,
it's a great resource. Our singers love to have that as a resource.
So when the music is selected, who does the arrangements? And I'm assuming, because chorales generally are known for their harmonies, right? And kind of the complexity of presenting a piece of music.
Yes.
And so with Sentimental Journey, I can imagine that you want something familiar that has a challenge to it, but it's not complicated.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
who does the arrangements?
These are already published works that we find through different music publishers. Hal Leonard is one of the larger ones, but they are already published works. And it takes a lot of time to kind of go through them and see, even physically, what they look like on the page. And for Sentimental Journey, we offer both the music as well as a lyric sheet. Because for some, the music can be very busy. It has the piano part in it, it has my part, but it also has your part. So visually, it can be very confusing. So some of our singers will look at it for a little bit, and then when they have the gist of it, then they'll shift over to just having the lyrics in front of them. And that's usually enough of a roadmap to remember what they're doing.
That makes sense. I mean, all of us sing along in the car. We
Yes.
know. You can look around in traffic and like person next to you singing at the radio or
Yep.
they're whatever. So I think that's really interesting that you have figured out the best way to try to help people be successful.
Yes.
And and that really is part of this too, is there's the sense of a connection and the social aspect.
Yes.
But to stand up and sit down, and actually perform for people who are in the arts, that's you sing, you perform because that's what you are born to do.
Yeah. And when we had, after our debut performance, the following Monday, we had another rehearsal, and I asked each one to just share what you thought of yesterday, both good and bad, because we want to learn how to do it better. And I think the piece that kept coming back was their sense of accomplishment. And the fact that, one woman said, well, they clapped for us. It was like they were rooting for us. And I said, well, they absolutely were. And it was fantastic. You deserved that applause. So the sense that they felt like their hard work was really worth something, and that it was for somebody else's enjoyment was a huge, huge piece for all of them, for the care partners as well, just to see that smile on their loved one's face.
And just in the larger context, we don't always value older people, which is ridiculous because we're all going to be that someday.
Yep.
And we don't necessarily value what older people have to offer. And what this chorus, what this chorale, but particularly the Sentimental Journey Singers are doing is helping them to feel like they are giving.
Absolutely, that they are contributing to society, and that they have something worth contributing. And I've learned so much about my singers, and I'm excited to get to know them, to get to know their history. We have a retired doctor of education, and he was telling me about his military background and all of the amazing adventures he had had. And to see them kind of light up about these things that they're so passionate about is really wonderful.
And music is at the root of it all.
Yes.
I don't know a single human being whose life has not been touched by music. To your point, certain songs on certain radio stations or whatever, a certain strain or the first couple of notes or something,
absolutely.
just takes us back instantly to some memory somewhere
Absolutely.
that is so strong.
Absolutely. They say smells and music are the last two things to really stay with a person as far as memory triggers. And there are songs I know I will sing forever, camp songs, church songs, things that have just been ingrained in me. And to watch them, as I said, in the sing-along, to just light up as soon as they realize which song, oh, I know that, and they could sing the whole thing without any trouble at all.
And this is one of the reasons, too, that I hope people will take this to heart and really come out not to just support you in the performances, but to figure out ways that their own clubs or organizations or their companies can help make this something more people can participate in.
Yes.
So January 6th is the date that we need to remember.
Yes.
Because if you want to be part of this chorus at the Insight Memory Care Center, you need to get on and register right away.
Yes,
All right?
and that way we know our numbers.
Thank you so much for being here, Mary
Thank
Ann.
you.
And this at home is what you need to know.